Tonight, the sailing camp tragedy off the coast of Miami Beach. Video exclusively obtained by NBC News shows the moment a barge crashes into a sailboat filled with young campers, killing 2 children. First responders and rescue divers frantically searching the waters, trying to save the campers and their counselor. Also breaking tonight, dangerous storms on the move, tornadoes touching down in the plains after this monster twister ripped across South Dakota. Detroit Metro Airport underwater as millions face life-threatening heat. The body cam footage capturing officers rescuing kids trapped in a hot car. The new details in the deadly Walmart stabbing spree. We speak with 2 men who confronted the suspect, flinging shopping carts to try and stop his rampage, and why officers were called on the alleged attacker just 2 days before. NFL legend Deion Sanders beating cancer. The Colorado coach and former Super Bowl champion forced to have his bladder removed after doctors discovered a tumor. His emotional story of survival. Europe's raging wildfires, video capturing beachgoers in Italy fleeing to the ocean to escape the flames. The heat-fueled infernos targeting popular tourist destinations. Breakthrough Alzheimer's studies. We speak with a doctor about the steps you can take to stave off the onset of the disease. And fashion forensics. With designer counterfeits becoming more sophisticated, we'll take you inside the luxury lab with high-tech tools sorting the real deal from the replica. Plus, the CDC says dozens of people accidentally ate THC-laced pizza. The major mix-up at a Wisconsin restaurant. Top story starts right now. And good evening. We are coming on the air tonight with heartbreaking news in the waters off Miami Beach. A sailboat from a summer camp carrying 5 children and a counselor hit by a barge. And now we're learning the crash has turned deadly. This surveillance video obtained exclusively by NBC News showing the moment of impact. The barge illuminated in the center of your screen, slamming into that yellow sailboat. You see the sail falling towards the water. It happened in Biscayne Bay, parts of which stretches between the city of Miami and Miami Beach. Authorities mobilizing a massive response, aerial images capturing divers in the water as they tried to help the victims of this incident. The Coast Guard confirming tonight 2 of the campers aboard the sailboat have died. All 6 people who were on the vessel have been recovered. Our Jesse Kirsch is on the ground for us in Miami Beach and joins us live tonight. Jesse, we're learning more about those victims.
That's right, Tom. We just got a further update from the Coast Guard. They are now telling us that the 2 young girls who lost their lives were 7 and 13 years old, and they were killed in this horrific incident. And you can see behind us here that barge is still out here. This is an area that is popular with locals. It's popular with tourists. And now it has been marked by tragedy.
This is the moment a picturesque day at a children's sailing camp turned to tragedy in South Florida.
Part of a submerged sailboat with missing children.
Authorities say a barge struck a sailboat carrying 5 children and an adult this morning in Miami's Biscayne Bay.
We do have Miami Beach Fire Marine around as well. They're responding with fireboats.
Surveillance footage obtained exclusively by NBC News shows the barge toppling the much smaller vessel. The U.S. Coast Guard says all 6 people were recovered, but 2 children died.
I've never seen so many ambulances, dive rescue. I couldn't even barely walk. It was so crowded.
The horrific crash sparking a massive response. Divers and police boats swarming. The barge carrying a crane sitting in the water for hours. Tonight, the Miami Yacht Club telling NBC News the sailboat was from its Youth Sailing Foundation summer camp, a program for children ages 7 to 15. The club writing it's devastated by this terrible tragedy. Meanwhile, authorities are investigating how this could have happened.
Jesse Kirsch joins us again live from Miami Beach. And Jesse, just behind you, we see that barge there. And it's also my understanding the sailboat is actually still out there as well.
Yeah, that's right, Tom. And the Coast Guard is out here right now on top of all of that because they are controlling what they're calling a safety zone. You can see a boat coming past us right now. So there's a lot of traffic out here still hours after this incident unfolded. That barge has been sitting basically in this same spot for hours now, and the Coast Guard tonight is telling us that the sailboat involved in this crash, which was holding those 5 children and that adult, the sailboat is still submerged under that barge right now. Tom.
A tragic day out there in Biscayne Bay. Okay, Jesse, we thank you for your reporting. We're going to turn now to some other big news we're following tonight involving the extreme weather across the country. 170 million sweltering under dangerous heat right now. Severe storms taking aim at the Midwest, spawning twisters and intense floods. I want to bring in Ryan Chandler, who's in Dallas, where temperatures are reaching triple digits. Ryan, talk to us first about the breaking news, some tornadoes touching down.
The images that we're seeing out of South Dakota during this wild weather event are striking, Tom. More reported tornadoes today, the second day of apparent tornado outbreaks. You see that video, twisters ripping through the plains. This area is still under a severe thunderstorm watch until 10 o'clock tonight, the National Weather Service says. And just minutes ago, there was a tornado warning for Buffalo County in central South Dakota, a reported tornado in Dixon there. The National Weather Service warning people to take cover now, just in the last half hour, Tom.
All right, Ryan. And then also, I know strong storms are unleashing torrential rains in Detroit. The pictures out of the airport there are also pretty wild.
Yeah, the Detroit airport there reports intense flooding in multiple areas of the airport. That is impacting travel both into the airport by roads. You see cars trying to get through the water there, and travel out of the airports by the skies. FlightAware reporting in the last hour there are 70 delayed flights, 8 cancellations, as the airport warns that flooding is making travel into that airport hazardous and is impacting flights. Tom.
And then finally, Ryan, the latest on these heat emergencies across the country. It's been so hot lately.
Yeah, 107 is the reported feel-like temperature here in Dallas. That can be deadly. It's turned deadly during this heat wave. Just last week, Dallas County reported their first heat death, and we're seeing real harrowing video out of Phoenix where a father was arrested after police say he left his 4 children in a car. That car, they were found to have an internal temperature of 125 degrees. The children all exhibiting symptoms of heat illness. They were taken to the hospital and are reported to be okay. But you see that father arrested, people calling this an unfathomable event in Phoenix, Tom.
All right. Ryan Chandler for us tonight on that weather. Ryan, we appreciate your reporting. I want to bring in NBC Washington meteorologist Amelia Draper. Amelia, let's start with the severe weather across the Midwest tonight. What are you tracking? We're talking tornadoes and some serious flooding in Detroit.
Well, yeah, Tom. So we tracked some very heavy rain into Detroit. Now we're really focused on South Dakota, where I'm seeing numerous tornado warnings, likely one confirmed tornado there. And this is what could evolve into a derecho. What's a derecho? It's just basically a fancy term for a very impressive windstorm that travels at least 250 miles, producing not only strong winds, but very heavy rainfall. Something we'll keep an eye on as this continues to pack South Dakota, moving into Minnesota and Iowa as well. Now, the biggest threat is going to be winds for the rest of the evening and overnight hours, but hail potentially up to 2 inches in diameter and tornadoes as well. But talking about this wind threat, you see here the wind area, the biggest concern, including areas like Sioux Falls, Minneapolis, wind gusts here potentially of 75 to 100 miles an hour, potentially impacting areas like I-29 and I-90, Tom.
Still pretty hot out there. We just heard Ryan talk about that, but there might be some relief in the way.
There's going to be some relief, but not for quite some time. So I'm going to get you to my heat maps here. Here's a look at tomorrow. The heat indices still in the triple digits across most of the country. Charlotte feeling like 103, Memphis feeling like 105. We are going to see relief with the heat as we move toward the end of the week, closing out July, heading into August, and hopefully that trend, the break from the heat, continues throughout the month of August, Tom.
All right, Amelia, so great to have you here tonight on Top Story. We thank you for that. New details emerging in that mass stabbing at a Michigan Walmart over the weekend. We're hearing from one of the heroes who stepped in to stop the attack. He says he ran the suspect with a grocery cart to keep him from injuring more people. That story tonight from Maggie Vespa.
Tonight, one of the men who authorities say helped take down a suspect who stabbed 11 people at a Michigan Walmart,
We got multiple victims.
describing how he sprung into action.
I could see the knife in his hand. It's like we locked eyes, me and him did. And I was like, I just took off running after him.
Retired
That was
Marine
when I
Matthew
come around the corner.
Kolakowski says he saw the suspect stab a woman in the back.
Just as far as he could get the knife into her. And then she went right down. He shuffled the knife from hand to hand, and he like spun and stopped like he was gonna come back and get her again. I hit him right in the rear just as hard as I could with the grocery cart.
Kolakowski and others, the sheriff confirms, held down 42-year-old Bradford James Gilly until a deputy arrived.
He yelled, I'm a soldier, and that everybody in Walmart were bad people and that they pretty much need to die. And I was like, well, I'm a mother effing Marine. And then his eyes got big, and then that's when he stopped talking.
His brother-in-law, Chris O'Brien, the one filming.
I seen a mother and 2 children crying because their father was stabbed. Dad got rolled out on a stretcher, and then yeah, that's hard.
Gilly today pleading not guilty to assault and terrorism charges. Court documents show he has a long criminal record and history of mental health issues, including being involuntarily committed in 2017. The sheriff in another county 2 hours away revealing on Friday they received a court order to arrest Gilly, deeming him a substantial risk to himself or others in the near future. But deputies couldn't find Gilly, who was listed as homeless. Less than 24 hours later, investigators say he carried out the violent stabbing spree.
Okay, Maggie Vespa joins us tonight from outside that Walmart in Traverse City, Michigan. So, Maggie, the suspect's first court appearance, I understand, was pretty unusual.
Yeah, Tom, it really was. He started off by basically telling the judge, I don't want to talk to you, and then later brought up watching black and white videos involving psychedelic drug use. His lawyer urging him to be quiet, telling him to really only answer the questions asked. The judge eventually muting him before ordering him held on a $100,000 bond. We have reached out to Gilly's defense attorney for just general comment. We haven't yet heard back. Meanwhile, new court documents detailing victims' injuries, including stab wounds to their sides, their lungs, one person's eye. All 11 victims in this attack, Tom, are expected to survive.
Okay, all right, Maggie, we thank you for that. And a disturbing story in Arkansas, the hunt for a man suspected of murdering a couple on a family hike with their 2 young daughters. The remote state park on lockdown since Saturday as police comb the park for any clues about the suspect's whereabouts. Aaron Gilchrist is in Devil's Den State Park, where the search continues tonight.
Got two bodies down here.
Tonight, an urgent manhunt is underway in Arkansas for the man who police say committed a horrific double murder, killing a couple hiking with their young daughters. The man attacked the Brink family on a walking trail in Devil's Den State Park Saturday afternoon, according to police. They say Clinton and Kristen Brink's 7- and 9-year-old daughters managed to get away unharmed and find help.
2 children are there. They advised that their parents were assaulted. One was possibly stabbed.
At first, officers scouring the park thought they heard signs of life.
Hear yells calling for help. We're hiking down.
10-4, we're hearing them too.
But then they say they made a grisly discovery, finding Clinton and Kristen Brink dead on a trail. Police say the suspect is a white male who was seen driving toward a park exit in a black sedan. This park is thousands of acres of dense vegetation. They made it hard to search for both the victims and the suspect here. And while police don't believe he's in the park anymore, they've closed off all of the trails until further notice. Authorities now urging anyone at or near the park that day to check for footage or photos of the suspect. Do you feel less safe here in the park knowing what happened here over the weekend?
I do. We just stayed in the car with the doors locked.
Tonight, a relative telling NBC News the Brink family had just moved to the area 3 weeks ago. Their loved ones releasing a statement saying Clinton and Kristen died heroes, protecting their little girls, and they deserve justice. They will forever live on in all of our hearts.
And then, Aaron, I know you reported a little bit there about the family from around West Fork, Arkansas. What more do we know about them?
Well, Tom, we've been able to learn from a family member who spoke to one of our producers earlier today that they described the couple as a loving couple. They described them as devoted parents. As you can imagine, the family is asking for privacy right now. This is something that has been incredibly emotional for them, that these 2 little girls now have to deal with trying to come to terms with a new reality for them. The family did ask that the public try to help as much as they can. If anybody has information that may be helpful to the investigation, they've asked folks to come forward with that. We know that state police have been pushing very hard for people who may have been in the park on Saturday, who have cell phone video or photos, who had GoPro cameras maybe set up on a canoe or something like that in the area. They've asked those folks to come forward with that footage or those images if they can. They've asked people in the surrounding area if they have security cameras or game cameras on their homes or on their properties to let police know and offer any footage that may have captured a glimpse of the suspect that they're still looking for, Tom.
All right, Aaron Gilchrist first tonight. Aaron, we thank you for that. We are following some breaking news right now out of New York City. An active shooter incident happening in Midtown Manhattan, just blocks from where we are coming to you live tonight. We know at least one person has been shot, possibly a police officer, according to two senior New York City law enforcement officials. This happening at 345 Park Avenue. That's on Park Avenue between 51st and 52nd Street. These are live pictures right now coming from WNBC, of course, our NBC New York station. We are getting a crew to the scene right now, and we'll bring you the latest as we get. We're going to listen into their coverage.
Avoid that area as they try to get grips on what they're dealing with in terms of a rush hour shooting in a corporate building home to some of the biggest firms in the country. And the question is, who is this? Is this a workplace-related shooting? Is it terrorism? Is it random act of violence? It's too soon to know, and we await to hear from police if and when they have this matter under control. But again, active shooting at 3045 Park, one police officer shot, one civilian shot, and it's just unclear if the suspect is currently in custody or if it's an ongoing threat. Back to you.
Okay, Jonathan, and we could see how active it was from Ida's live shot as they were expanding the perimeter there, asking people to move, asking people to avoid that area. Jonathan, thank you for the latest. We're going to check back in with you throughout the evening. Coming up here for us, we're going to continue tracking the dangerous heat. Janice.
Okay. All right, folks, we're obviously in some live coverage. I'm going to ask our wonderful control room what we're doing next here. What's that? Say it one more time. Okay, here we go. So we're going to turn to politics now and those comments from President Trump saying he turned down an invitation from Jeffrey Epstein to go to his private island. This coming as the controversy over the Epstein files shows no sign of letting up, and now a new plea from Epstein's convicted accomplice to the Supreme Court. NBC's Gabe Gutierrez is covering all the latest details tonight.
Tonight, President Trump revealing he turned down an invitation from notorious sex offender Jeffrey Epstein to visit Epstein's private island in the Caribbean, while he says many others went.
Nobody ever talks about them. I never had the privilege of going to his island, and I did turn it down, but a lot of people in Palm Beach were invited to his island. In one of my very good moments, I turned it down. I didn't want to go to his island.
President Trump also detailing what led to his falling out with Epstein more than 20 years ago, an argument over workers at his Mar-a-Lago club.
He stole people that worked for me. I said, don't ever do that again. He did it again, and I threw him out of the place, persona non grata. I threw him out, and that was it.
There's a new bipartisan push to force the Justice Department to release all of its files related to Epstein, especially after the DOJ interviewed convicted Epstein accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell last week. Tonight, President Trump suggesting there was no damaging information about him in the DOJ's Epstein files, saying if there was, President Biden's Justice Department would have made it public.
They were run by Comey. They were run by Garland. They were run by Biden. Those files were run by these people. They were run by my enemy. If there was anything in there, they would have used them for the election.
Gabe Gutierrez joins us tonight from the White House. Gabe, Ghislaine Maxwell's attorney is out today with a new plea to the Supreme Court.
Yeah, Tom, well, it's more of a renewed plea and a new court filing. Her attorney is once again asking the Supreme Court to overturn her 2021 conviction in New York for recruiting and grooming teenage girls for Epstein. Now, Maxwell is arguing that a non-prosecution agreement that Epstein made with federal prosecutors in Florida should apply to her case in New York and any other part of the U.S., Tom.
All right, Gabe, and then before you go today, President Trump's attorneys, they wanted to depose Rupert Murdoch?
Yeah, that's right. The president's lawyers are asking a judge to order Murdoch to sit for a deposition within 15 days for President Trump's $10 billion lawsuit accusing the Wall Street Journal of defaming him by reporting on a bawdy birthday letter to Epstein. Now, that letter was reportedly sent decades ago, but Trump vehemently denies ever writing it. Trump's lawyers, meanwhile, are citing Murdoch's advanced age to submit to questioning under oath as a chief argument in their motion to compel him to. Like, the lawyers are suggesting that the 94-year-old will either be too ill or dead to testify by the time the case goes to trial. Tom.
Gabe Gutierrez first. Gabe, we thank you for all of that. Now to President Trump issuing a stark warning to Russia's President Putin with a new deadline to end his war with Ukraine. This also coming as he announced the U.S. has reached a tentative trade agreement with the EU. NBC's Kelly O'Donnell has those details tonight.
Tonight in Scotland, President Trump showcased the power of his office and the assets of his wealth. Trump-branded golf resorts to appear more host than guest. With Britain's Prime Minister Keir Starmer, President Trump changed his tactic toward Vladimir Putin.
Every time I think it's going to end, he kills people.
Russia hitting a Kyiv high-rise overnight, a drone strike leaving residents, including a child, injured. The president shrinking his 50-day deadline for Putin to reach a ceasefire.
I'm going to make a new deadline of about 10 or 12 days from today. There's no reason in waiting.
If no ceasefire, Mr. Trump threatened to impose sanctions and secondary tariffs on Russia's trade partners, prompting this warning from a former Russian president. Each new ultimatum is a threat and a step towards war, not between Russia and Ukraine, but with his own country. But Ukraine's President Zelensky thanked President Trump for his focus on saving lives and stopping this horrible war. Also during this visit abroad, the president de-escalated his tariff war with the European Union. The U.S. set a broad 15% tariff, down from a threatened 30% import tax on many EU goods, including European cars like BMWs and Mercedes, while the EU reduced barriers on American-made cars sold there. And while that deal is done in the big picture sense, there are a lot of fine details that still need to be worked out. And there could be changes for important industries like pharmaceuticals, even agricultural products. The EU says they would have liked a lower rate, but they also appreciate having some stability. Tom?
Okay, Kelly O'Donnell, we thank you for that. We're going to get back to that breaking news we've been following out of New York City, reports of an active shooter in Midtown Manhattan. I want to bring in Tom Winter. He covers law enforcement for us here at NBC News. Quite the scene there on 52nd and Park, just blocks from where we are here at 30 Rock. What do you know right now, Tom?
Tom, this is very much a developing situation here in New York City. And so what we're looking at is a heavy NYPD response. They called a level 3 mobilization. That's one of the highest in the department. The call immediately came out on the air. I've listened to a radio transmission on their encrypted frequencies detailing an officer, believed to be an officer on a paid detail, that was shot at that moment because of the nature of the shooting and what they saw with the individual armed with a long gun. They were able to, at that point, call in all the heavy weapons teams that were in Manhattan, or at least in this area of Manhattan. That's the NYPD long gun teams. There is one police officer that's been shot. That individual's conditions are unknown at this time. There's been a civilian that's been shot. The condition of that individual is not yet known at this time. The NYPD is in the process, along with the fire department of the city of New York, of evacuating people from that building, getting them outside, getting them away from the building. We don't have a specific floor or location, but we are getting some details from the scene that they, at least some indication that they believe that the individual who's responsible for this is still inside the building. So hopefully they can be able to wrap this up soon. Obviously, there's been a lot of details back and forth, and things have been changing.
Yeah, a lot of information there, Tom. We thank you for bringing that to our viewers. Let's break it down, though. We think there is an active shooter with a long gun, maybe an assault rifle. We don't know. Too early to say from what we understand. Does he shoot the police officer outside or inside the building, or we still don't know?
We still don't know that, whether that was a detail officer that was there for security and this individual makes his way up, or this individual was posted at a specific office. There are some major multinational corporations here, Tom, the types of corporations that we would hear about on a day-to-day basis. This is where those companies are located on Park Avenue, as you well know. All I can say is that based on that initial radio transmission that I heard, the NYPD officers that initially responded certainly knew the gravity of the situation, and to call their SRG, which is their strategic response group, developed after the incidents in Europe, the active shooter incidents, to come to this scene as fast as possible. Basically what most police departments would call SWAT. They're just out on the street every day ready to respond.
So then I do want to ask you, do we know if the detail officer, and again, I know a lot of this information is just coming in, the detail officer, were they in uniform? Do we have any idea? Or if they were just protecting the building as maybe a side job, or maybe even getting paid by the NYPD at the time?
Yeah, so that's some information that's coming in, and I want to be respectful of the fact that there's a family out there right now, and there's 54,000 members of this police department that are wondering how their loved one is potentially doing. But hopefully we're in a situation where we can bring some more information on that soon. I just don't want to get ahead.
Yeah. Was the police officer, do we know the condition of the police officer?
We don't know the conditions of everybody at the moment. I'm hearing potentially some good news on that, but I want to wait till we get a little bit more information. You know, gunshot wounds, just from my experience and history, sometimes we've heard reports initially that somebody is in very grave condition, only for them to come out of the hospital several days later. We've seen instances where somebody's taken to the hospital. It's not initially believed to be serious, and then obviously, given the nature, it's a gunshot wound. Difficult things can happen. But you're looking at the NYPD doing what they're trained to do, which is not to hang outside the building and wait, but to go in, and you got to really kind of push the fight, as they say. I've been out with them when they've trained on these active shooters. You want to get to the location of the shooting as fast as possible and find a way to at least contain that individual at a bare minimum. And you're looking at the response rate.
Yeah, but you look at this video, Tom, and you see the size of the footprint of these buildings. Massive. And trying to scale these buildings floor by floor to find a single shooter in a building that sometimes is the size of the entire block. We're seeing police officers. You can see some K-9 units as well entering this building. Again, this is 52nd Street and Park Avenue in Midtown Manhattan, known as East Midtown here in the city, just blocks from 30 Rock. From what we understand, a police officer has been shot. Tom, do we have any information that a civilian or anybody else was shot in this as well, or is it just a police officer?
There's also a civilian that's been shot. And I want to stress that these are preliminary reports coming from the police department as best as they can. They have not reached all floors of this building. The floor that they're most concerned about, they have not gone through the entire floor yet. So I want to be, cautious of the fact I don't want to get another police officer shot here by describing it. We are streaming, we are live, we are online.
Yeah, we got it.
That's concern number one. Concern number two, of course, is for other individuals that could be located there. So we obviously want to be very clear and as certain as humanly possible as to what floors or what areas were impacted. I can tell you, though, Tom, that obviously this has got them concerned at the highest levels, and we do believe that they have an image of the person that they are looking for at this time, that they have an image of the person going into the building potentially with that gun. And so that's more information that we're waiting to confirm at this point. But I think we're probably they're probably pretty close to identifying at least an image of the person who they've been looking for.
It looks like they've surrounded the entire block, a perimeter of both ambulances, police cars. You talked about the SRG teams as well that are there that carry those large vans. You can see a large police van right here pulling up for emergency situations, a mobile command unit, if you will. They're going to surround this building. They're going to put all the forces that they can there. The police, the NYPD, the largest police force in the world, larger than some armies. They have the manpower here, but they want to make sure they get no one hurt and they get everybody out alive that they can. Right, Tom?
That's exactly right. And that's what they're doing right now. They're going floor by floor. The floors they don't believe that they have a problem with. They're in the process right now of getting those individuals out. They've evacuated a number of people. Just for those individuals' security, I'm not going to say where they're being evacuated to, but they are being evacuated. Cell service is generally good right now in Manhattan, so presumably those individuals are able to contact their loved ones and let them know that they're okay. Look, this is something the NYPD has trained for a very long time, an active shooter incident inside of a high-rise, significantly high up in one of these floors. The ability to move both laterally on that floor and vertically as well is a real challenge. And so this is something that they learned after the Bataclan attack, and as a matter of fact was tabletopped at one of the city's most sensitive sites several years ago, something I was able to witness. So,
and you can see people now, and it's unclear what we're looking at there, but the photographers from our station, WNBC, showing people still in their buildings. Maybe they can't come out. Maybe they're too scared to come out. Maybe they're just watching. You never know at the situation. It's our first time we're seeing those images. I do want to point out to our viewers at home, though, an incident with a long gun in Manhattan would be somewhat strange, because the gun laws here are so strong in the city of New York and the state of New York that incidents like this we don't hear, and that's why when we had the shooting with Luigi Mangione and the CEO of United Health, it was so rare for an act of violence like that to occur in Manhattan and Midtown especially.
Totally, Tom. I mean, if I were to see somebody walking down the street, not a plainclothes police officer or uniformed officer with a long gun, I would know immediately that individual was up to no good. It's just not something that's part of what exists here in New York City. It is wholly illegal. And so, yeah, anytime you see something like that, that would get somebody's attention. And I have a strong sense, at least on some of the preliminary information we're getting on the investigation, that's exactly what happened. A New York City police officer saw somebody with a long gun, clearly not dressed as a police officer, and that was the moment to immediately confront this individual. What we hope at this point is that this incident has stopped. But as we know, unfortunately, far too often from active
And when you
shooters,
say stopped, either they've taken down the shooter or he's in custody, but we don't know that yet.
Or he's in custody, or he's deceased, or any of those things. What we hope is that there's not any other individuals that were shot in the process of him, conducting what he was conducting today. So, again, we're waiting on more information. You're looking at the police officers enter the building. I believe that's the building in question. As we've noted, some of the most high-profile companies in this country.
Do we know any of them? Are they household names? Are they names people would know at home? Are they businesses, big businesses?
Blackstone, the National Football League, several other major multinational corporations.
So many corporations have their headquarters or have satellite offices here, especially in Midtown Manhattan. It's a place where people come in where they've been for decades doing business, and a lot of big companies are headquartered. It's unclear what the motives are here. We don't have a whole lot. What we know we have reported so far, and what we know is that apparently a gunman with a long gun, possibly an assault rifle, has shot a police officer. It is unclear how that police officer is doing. It was a police officer who was on detail at that building and has shot at least one other person. Tom?
That's correct.
And has shot at least one other person we believe to be a civilian. As you can see from the pictures here, there are police and ambulances that have formed a giant perimeter around East Midtown. This is 52nd Street and Park Avenue. If you know Midtown Manhattan right now, one of the busiest areas of Midtown on the east side, not too far from places like St. Patrick's Cathedral, places like 30 Rockefeller Plaza. A lot of businesses are down there as well, lots of restaurants. Not so much residential, more businesses. Further east you get, you'll start to hit some apartments and condo high-rises, but this is mostly businesses. So there are people right now, we've seen them in their windows that are likely stuck in their building because it's a little too dangerous to get out right now, or they're curious to see what happens here because, again, a scene like this, even though it's the biggest city in the world, a scene like this where you have an active shooter in the middle of Midtown Manhattan is very strange. Tom, I know we can see, look at this. We have people coming out of buildings right now, hands up, clearly, just because they want to make sure there is no mistake about where they're going or who they are, and probably very shaken up as they've been barricaded inside their buildings for probably a while now. Do we know when the shooting happened, Tom, around what time?
You know, Tom, I think it was during the initial airing of nightly news, so approximately 6:30 time frame, but give or take, these type of incidences, I don't want to be based on when we first heard it on the radio or when it first happened, but certainly it was within the hour, probably just 45 minutes ago.
Yeah, and then as we see more and more people from nearby buildings or from the building in question come out with their hands raised, these are civilians who maybe were barricaded where they were, told not to move, told to stay in place, are now coming out for the first time with their hands up and running out of the buildings. Again, this is happening in Midtown Manhattan, 52nd Street and Park Avenue here. The details, not a lot coming in right now, but what we know so far, there was an active shooter, shot a civilian, shot a police officer with a long gun, possibly an assault rifle. The motive is still unclear. The building where this happened, as Thomas pointed out, lots of multinational companies are there, big companies like BlackRock, like the NFL, and I'm sure many, many more, because you talk about the size of these buildings. There are several corporations that likely have office space in there. As we get more information, we're going to bring it to you. We're going to take a short break right now. We're going to make some phone calls. On the other end, we'll have new information for you, we hope. You're watching Top Story. We are following breaking news right now out of Midtown Manhattan, where an active shooter apparently is barricaded in a building on 52nd and Park. We understand an NYPD police officer has been shot along with a civilian as well. The only thing we know is that the shooter apparently has a long gun. You're watching images of people as they are leaving their buildings there in East Midtown right now, allowed to leave by police. There is a massive police presence in East Midtown right now, surrounding the building on Park Avenue between 52nd and 51st. Police everywhere, ambulances everywhere. You have special response teams. You have mobile command units here. As many police officers as possible, probably, that could have likely responded to this because it was an officer-involved shooting. The officer, it's still unclear about his condition right now. We're still waiting on some new information. But pretty much every corner of Park in the 50s is right now, and we should point out this is also not too far. There's a lot of sort of famous buildings, if you will, in this area, not too far from St. Patrick's Cathedral, not too far from Trump Tower as well. And there were a lot of multinational companies, from what we understand, inside the building where this occurred, including companies like BlackRock, including companies like the National Football League. But again, we're not sure what the motive is here. We're not sure where the shooter was headed or what he wanted to do or how he encountered that police officer. Our teams are on the scene right now. We have Jim Kavanaugh, who's joining us via phone. He's one of our law enforcement analyst. He's actually on camera, which is even better for us. So, Jim, you've been watching the coverage over the last 20 minutes. Give us a sense of what you're seeing here.
Well, great coverage by Tom Winter, as usual, giving a clear picture here. And I think you mentioned that it really ups the ante when we have an assailant with a rifle on Park Avenue in Manhattan. That's unusual in New York. I mean, we do see handgun attacks more there because of the strict gun laws. So a rifle always ups the ante, Tom, because of the velocity of the weapon and the wounds it can produce. But I would just say a little bit of good news for, there's an officer who's wounded and there's a civilian who's wounded. And, we went through so many shootings in ATF over the years, and we had to talk to the trauma surgeons all the time. And one thing they always told us, if you're shot and you're alive, you got a good chance of surviving. And it's not an immediate fatal wound. If you're shot and you know it, you have a good chance of surviving.
Jim, a lot of these buildings...
Let's keep a positive thought there.
Yeah, Jim, a lot of these buildings there in Midtown Manhattan, they have sort of the same sort of security profile, right? People can walk in, but they can't go too much further. Sometimes you can't access the elevator bank. You have to check in with the desk. The security usually is pretty good. With a security profile like that, and again, we don't know exactly what this building had, but if it were to be one of those deals, right, where people have to check in before they can even access the elevators, how much does that stop someone who would walk in with a long gun? And talk to me about some of the different scenarios they would be trained for there.
Yeah, well, exactly. That's the point. We talk about it on so many mass shootings. When somebody brings a rifle out and starts to walk into a building, do you have a plan? Do you have a method to stop that? Now, we don't know where this shooting happened. We don't know where the officer was injured or the civilian. We don't really know if the civilian's the assailant yet. But most of the buildings in New York, and I've been in many over the years, and I know you have, Tom, too, and they're exactly as you described. Usually there's a security kiosk on the first floor where there's some uniformed security usually, depending on the building. Maybe an off-duty NYPD officer working a second job in uniform, maybe in plain clothes. But if somebody walks in with a rifle and there's a policeman there, we could certainly see that could be a possible place where a confrontation happened quickly. And like you say, unless you have a key to the elevator or knowledge, or you're an insider.
Hey, Jim, I'm just going to pause. Hey, Jim.
Who's an insider.
Yeah, Jim, sorry. We just got some new information I want to report. Jonathan Dienstover at our partners at NBC New York, WNBC, is reporting that he's hearing the active shooter has shot himself on the 33rd floor of the building in question. There is also a photo that is being circulated that NBC New York is also showing of a man wearing a suit holding an assault rifle. Tom, I know you've seen this photo. We're going to put it up once it comes in. We have it now?
Yeah,
okay, so...
our control room is in the process, in fairness to them. I just sent it to them, so they're going to have it's going to take them a second to bring it up as fast as they are. But the photo very clearly depicts an individual armed with a long gun, alluding to what I was talking to you about just a few moments ago. You're looking at it right there. This is the photo here. Yeah, so this was captured from a surveillance camera, and the NYPD is looking for this individual, possibly in connection with with this active shooting incident, I don't think I need to do a lot of description here. He's depicted as holding what is clearly a long gun there, believed to be an assault rifle. He's got it in his right hand. Unclear to me, if you look at his shirt, he's got this light blue shirt here. See how it appears to be a little puffed out in front, Tom?
It's untucked, too.
Yeah, and untucked. So there was some question as to whether or not this individual had some sort of a bulletproof vest. It's not clear at all, to us at least initially here, perhaps it is to the police department, who specifically this individual is, what their background is, what their history is. That'll all be part of the investigation, but they are awfully fast, and I can tell you they're headed down a track on this right now.
Jim, you're a former ATF agent. I want you to walk our viewers through the weapon that we're looking at right here, and specifically two things, what we see on the muzzle there, and also the type of ammo that we're seeing, the jacket, if you will, on this weapon here. Talk to our viewers what you're noticing.
Yeah, it's a military-style rifle. It looks to be, it's hard to see because his clothes are dark. I'm trying to get an outline of the receiver there. It may be an AR-15 variant. It looks like about a 30-round magazine sticking out of the back, and he's got a muzzle brake, or it could be a silencer or a suppressor, as we call them, wrapped in some kind of gauze or tape. Looks like you might have a strap with the weapon as well. There's some kind of a khaki strap hanging down there, but clearly, I mean, that's a 30-round magazine he's got. He's got plenty of ammo to shoot there, and he's taken some pains to create some kind of a device for himself. It looks to be, it's hard because his leg is right, the black pants right behind the weapon. But and then, military style weapon, high velocity, rapid fire, certainly at least semi-automatic at the very least. The rapid fire could also be fully automatic. But,
and then, Jim, you have a man, he's wearing sunglasses. He's got the rifle, the assault rifle, right by his side, and he appears to casually be strolling in. What does this tell you about his motives and what he wants to do, or what he thinks?
Yeah. That's exactly right. That's the thing to notice, Tom. The stroll. I mean, he's definitely on his mission. He's ready to go. Look at how he's striding in there. He wants to do this. He's ready to go. He's got his weapon, his sunglasses, and he's walking briskly toward his target. What is the reason for that? We don't know. Is he, like I said before, he could be an insider, somebody done him wrong. This could be revenge. He wants to get somebody in there. We don't know. Or it could be a complete stranger attack. It's just too hard to tell.
Yeah.
At the moment. But certainly the little things we can glean, it looks like he has a pair of, running shoes or sneakers on. Just a jacket. That's not necessarily a suit coat, but just a blue jacket, some black trousers or jeans maybe, and that rifle, which he's got down by his side. When a person holds a rifle low like that, they're not right at the place they want to shoot. In other words, he's trying to make an egress into where he wants to shoot. If he was right where he wanted to shoot, he'd have his other hand under the stock of the weapon. He'd be advancing like you see the SRT officers advance or SWAT officers advance. But no, he's not at the place yet that he wants to do the shooting yet. And so where he keeps that rifle low, it's almost like you won't notice it. You will, but you might not, because he's not holding it up high and spinning it around. And this is sometimes how guys get into buildings. I can think of many cases, and you can too, like this, where people just put the rifle down and just walk in.
Yeah.
But this building might have had some security right there in the front, and maybe that's what happened. Tom will, I'm sure, dig it out. The reporters will find out. The 33rd floor, that's going to play into this somehow. Why that floor? Why is he there? And he commits suicide there. So, there's going to be an interesting set of facts to unravel as why the shooter is there.
Yeah, and how he's able to get that far. Tom Winter has some new reporting. Tom, let's get you in here.
Sure. So I just want to be clear with the specific floor. We've heard that change several times, and that's not surprising to me because an individual is going to report certain things on certain floor. Which one did he go to? Of course, there's stairwells, there's fire escapes, so fire stairwells. So this individual could have traveled up and down floors. So I just want to mention that. So this person was described to us as an individual that they're looking for. They believe in connection with this incident. We're still waiting to get some name and other details from this person. We do know that one police officer working a paid detail was shot as a result of this incident. We know that at least one civilian has been critically injured as a result of this incident, and it is possible that other civilians could have been injured. I put a bit of an asterisk on that, Tom. You can only imagine the situation in a New York City office building. An individual comes in and starts shooting. We have seen injuries in the past, people trying to run, people trying to flee. Understandably, they fall down, they injure themselves in that process. So I'm still trying to get some additional information, but it does appear preliminarily at least one police officer shot, condition unknown, working a paid detail in Midtown Manhattan, and then another individual, somebody who's not a police officer, was also shot as well, and waiting to hear if we're going to hear about any other additional injuries or shooting victims. So that's some information that we're working on. How this basically went down, I'm told, is that it came out over the radio that an officer, there's some sort of an engagement here that occurs, obviously, and then at that point, police immediately identified the severity of the situation and called for SRG units, which is the NYPD's strategic response group. That group was stood up after a number of terror incidents in Europe under Bill Bratton's command. And basically what the idea of that unit was that there would always be police officers on the street conducting police work that had the heavy weapons, the NYPD's assault rifles, in the truck, in the car, ready to go as soon as there was a reported active shooter. And that's what happened here tonight. In the training, and I've been out with the training with this team on several occasions and gone to the NYPD's active shooter school, they basically, they're training and they're continually told and yelled at to go towards the shooting. It's the last thing you and I would do, Tom. If I saw this guy in the street, I'd run, pick up the phone, and call 911. But they are trained to go towards that incident, try to confront this individual. At the very least, he's going to be paying attention to police and not to people that would be working in an office building or any other major building or event site here in New York City. So that's kind of how this went down. That's how this went. The top of the police department are there. I mean, you've got the chief of the department are there, the deputy mayor for public safety. You've got all the top brass in the city either responding or already at the scene. They were there even before I joined you on set within a half hour of this incident. So that should give you a sense of what happened. I called an awful lot of police officers into this part of the city. There's a multi-block radius cordoned off around it. They are in the process of evacuating floor by floor, getting people out of the building and getting them into elevators or getting them into the stairwells to get people out. So that's where this stands at this time. They're going to slow it down here a little bit because they, as our colleague Jonathan Deans reported, there is the possibility here that they know where this individual is. This incident may be over, and they're going to start to do some investigative work as well. Not that they hadn't been doing that already. So who this person is this definitely the person responsible for it? That's the type of information that they're looking at right now. But at least this is a photo that is circulating in law enforcement circles of an individual that they're interested in finding possibly in connection with this incident. You know, Tom, we were talking about when I first came on and joined you about a half hour ago, how unusual it is to see somebody with a weapon like this in New York City. I certainly have never seen it, and if I did, I would run to find the closest police officer and be calling 911 while I was running. So this is not something that we see in New York City at all. Clearly not a police officer, and definitely grabbed the attention of whoever was working there at the building. So we hope that everybody here survives this incident, but we're still waiting on getting firm conditions, and we're still waiting on hearing. I'm just going to check my email as I say it, whether or not whether or not the mayor is going to have a specific press conference time. That's typically a bulletin that goes out to all of us reporters.
If you're just joining our coverage here, we continue to monitor the massive police situation in Midtown Manhattan right now. From what we understand, there was a shooting around 6 o'clock tonight on 52nd Street and Park Avenue, Park between 52nd and 51st. It is 345 Park Avenue. It is the headquarters of the investment giant Blackstone. It is unclear what the gunman's motives were, but that was the picture we were just showing to you. He simply, what appears from the surveillance video, strolled into 345 Park Avenue with what looks like to be an assault rifle with a very heavy magazine, maybe something on the muzzle as well. Strolls in, shoots at least one civilian, and shoots a police officer who was on detail. The conditions of those people and whether more people were shot is still unclear. That building is on lockdown. We also have from Jonathan Deans, our reporter for WNBC, NBC New York, has reported that the gunman appears to be down. Either he took his own life or police took him out. That's still unclear. We know the skyscraper is around 44 floors. Usually they have pretty strong security. But if that man was able to enter the building, then enter the elevator bank with an assault rifle, is terrifying because it's unclear where he was headed or what he wanted to do. Stephen Romo is on the scene for us right now. Stephen, give us a sort of an eye of what you're seeing and what you're hearing right now.
Hey, Tom, yes, we're at 51st and 3rd, about as close as we can get to the building right now. And it's a real scene, as you can imagine. These people all around looking and worried about the shooter that was reported loose in Midtown Manhattan, waiting eagerly for an update from police. We saw Mayor Eric Adams tweeting the latest information. People I talked to, just making my way over to our crew, saying that they are watching Twitter looking for any kind of update because they would like to try to make it through and go home. It's also surreal to see people looking out of these buildings, people who are closer to this building on Park, trying to make their way over there. Also seeing police officers even being kept back. We saw police officers with their full gear on, making their way closer to the building, but other officers, we told they have very little information, that they need to stay back as well. This, as you mentioned, this building, home to a lot of major firms. You mentioned Blackstone, the NFL. It is a massive building. It looks like it takes up this full city block here. So you can imagine it's a long time for these officers to make their way through and sweep through this building. We're following the latest reporting you just mentioned as well from WNBC about this shooter and trying to get more information. So far, no updates from officials here on the scene, but there are a lot of very worried spectators who are seeing this in the middle of their commute home for the most of them. Tom?
Yeah, Stephen, we thank you for your reporting. We're getting some new statements now from officials. This is New York's Governor Kathy Hochul. She's posted on X saying, "I've been briefed on an active shooter situation in Midtown Manhattan. Please avoid the area of 52nd Street between Park and 3rd. FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino posted on X saying, Bongino, FBI New York field office management personnel and active agents are responding to provide support at the active crime scene in Manhattan." So you have both the FBI and the NYPD on this. On the left hand of your screen, this is the gunman we believe entered 345 Park Avenue on Park between 52nd and 51st around 6 o'clock tonight and started firing. We know at least one civilian and a police officer have been shot. It is still unclear how they're doing tonight. It is our understanding from our Jonathan Deans, who works for NBC New York, that the shooter is down. It's unclear if he shot himself or if he was shot by police, but it appears he somehow got into the building, then was able to access the elevator bank, and then somehow get to at least maybe the 33rd floor. But that, again, this information could all change. It's very fluid. It's what's come in tonight, and the shooting happened around 2 hours ago, less than that. Tom Winter has been on the phone. He's got some new information for us. Tom, what can you tell our viewers?
Yeah, so, Tom, we are confirming 4 New York City law enforcement officials say that the shooter is deceased, and deceased as a result of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. The NYPD has eyes on the shooter inside of this building, 345 Park Avenue, and now, given the nature of the incident, the fact that his chest appears to be puffed out here. They're not sure why this person did this, what their motive or background is at all. They do not have a name on the individual. And so at this stage of the investigation, they want to be very cautious that there's not anything on him that could further injure police officers.
Any type of explosive is what you're talking about.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly right. So I would not be shocked if we see the bomb squad show up. That's kind of standard protocol. That doesn't necessarily mean that there's an explosive device. But since this individual, they have eyes on this individual, is deceased, their feeling at this moment is that just take all the time that they need to make sure nobody else gets hurt here. So that's at least the initial indication from the scene. They're trying to identify this person at this point, figure out what they're all about, and if there's any additional information or any additional thing that could be going on associated with this person. That's what they do all the time. Cautiously and guardedly optimistic about the condition of the police officer, but they're still in the process of treating that officer at the hospital. We know that another civilian has been shot as well, and we're starting to hear about at least one other civilian injury, but I don't know the nature of that injury.
So one shot, maybe somebody else hurt is what you're understanding.
Exactly.
You got to think, I mean, at 6 o'clock, Midtown Manhattan, this building, if this man came in, the amount of people he likely confronted or crossed if he was able to get into the building, get to the elevator bank, get up. But maybe he had his eyes set on a certain target. Maybe he knew what he wanted to do. It's unclear. It looks like he clearly had some of this planned. I mean, to be dressed like this, have the gun like that, and simply stroll in. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he was, you don't know what goes on in the mind of somebody who opens fire like this. And again, these are the photos being provided to us by police through sources, law enforcement sources, is how we're obtaining some of these photos. The police presence is still massive in Midtown Manhattan right now. Areas are blocked off from Park Avenue all the way to 3rd Avenue, and several streets around Midtown Manhattan are paralyzed right now because of the shooting that's happened here, which is incredibly unusual, even in a big city like New York City. For a thing like this to happen, a man walking around with an assault rifle, very strange in Manhattan, even though it is very common in other parts of the country where gun laws are different. In Midtown Manhattan, this is very strange to see something like this. And for this to happen in the building at this time on a Monday, right after at the end of the workday, when people are trying to leave, get back to their homes and their families, the timing of all of this is incredibly suspicious. Tom, as we continue to follow this and monitor this, we've heard from the FBI. We know the FBI is there as well, along with the NYPD. And, there's skyscrapers all over Manhattan. So these teams train for this, just like the firefighters train to work skyscrapers as well. They'll do a grid search. They'll go floor by floor and make sure that every floor is covered.
Yeah, so not only are you doing a search to make sure there are no other potential victims, that there's not a second shooter. There very rarely is a second shooter in these incidents. But one of the other things that you're going to do is you now are in a part of an active investigation. Did anybody help this individual get this gun? Is there anybody else that they need to be looking for or keeping an eye out for? And so there's also the evidence collection component of this. You're seeing the FBI respond, not because the NYPD doesn't have the resources. The evidence of that is clear on your screen. The FBI and their evidence recovery team, the ERT, their ability to, if this individual has ties to another state, if they came in from another location, to be able to assist the NYPD in that way as well. That's why they're there. I do want to say that the police commissioner of the city of New York, Jessica Tisch, has now posted on social media that the shooter is neutralized and that there is the incident is under control. So that is now official from the New York City Police Department that they're not currently looking for any other individual, at least at this instant moment, tied to this shooting. So there's an investigation that clearly needs to take place here, who this person was, what they're about, what's on their person. Just looking at that photograph and being able to zoom in on it on my phone, it does appear that his chest and torso area is puffed out. So does he have a bulletproof vest? Does he have some sort of a improvised explosive device? That's something that they're going to take their time and take a look at as well. We're looking at the aerial shot here from WNBC's helicopter of now multiple blocks that have been cordoned off. So that's to be able to get emergency personnel in and out of this location. It's to safely be able to evacuate people and to, if there's anybody else that's been injured or anybody else that's been shot, to be able to remove them from the building safely. So that's at least the information that we have at this time. Obviously, Tom, been quite a event and incident here in New York City.
Yeah, and buildings all across Manhattan and probably all across the country are going to try to fortify, I'm sure, their security after this incident once we know more about what happened. Again, a lot of these buildings have very strong security. You come in through those sort of doors, and then there is usually a security desk that prevents you from getting to the elevator banks where people are working. But sometimes there's not, so it's unclear what this building had. They had a lot of big companies here, including, like we said, the investment giant, Blackstone, along with the NFL and along with other companies. That's going to do it for our coverage right now. We're going to stay on top of this story. I'm Tom Llamas for Top Story. More news on the way. We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.